So let's talk about one of my favorite movies of all time, especially in motorsports. I think the best. Well, second to Last American Hero, of course, with Junior Johnson. But Stroker Race, you played a significant role in preparing the cars and putting things together to be able to, for them to be able to have the resources they needed to be able to make the movie. And I guess there was a T-Bird that got wrecked, and you can tell us about that. But I mean, how does that even start? How does that conversation even start up? Somebody, I know you got your shop, you're doing anything and everything. You're a jack of all trades. You can do it all, right? A guy needs a body on a car, whatever. So how did you get connected with the movie industry to be able to provide all the cars for this movie?
Well, I was doing some work with Elliott Forbes Robinson in '82, and it was a car that I had built from a donor car. I updated a car, and we qualified for the race. If you check it, it looks like we didn't, but we qualified for the race. But in the last practice, after the last practice, but before the race, we stuffed that thing in a second turn and scuffed up the right side really bad. And somebody came up to me, and the people at the Six Pack movie were getting ready to do their filming the following week there in Atlanta. They say, we need a car for a crash scene. And they hired me to stay over. We jury-rigged that car where it would run enough. They put automatic transmission fluid in a little can, and the stunt guy squirted the transmission fluid into the fuel line, made the car smoke really, really bad, or into the carburetor, made it smoke very bad, then he run it up against the wall. Already been crashed, and they just were doing it. But they cut it out of the movie. I don't think
Never even made it.
I don't think it made the movie. They paid me,
Yeah.
so, I just didn't care. But from that, I get home, and the people from Universal Studio were calling other people that had been in that movie and just say, we're going to have this movie. Could we get you to be interested? Well, in the Kenny Rogers movie, they paid us by the day. You knew how much money you were getting. But the gentleman with Universal Studios called and said, no, we're not going to do that. He says, well, here's how you're going to get paid. We're going to give you a piece of paper that guarantees somebody 30 seconds exposure in a Burt Reynolds movie. And you can take that contract and sell it for whatever you can get out of it. And that's why nobody else was interested. That's
not very
sucks.
good. Yeah,
well, it requires some ingenuity, apparently, or some work. But I said, well, have you got anybody so far? And they had 7-Eleven, and in the movie it's called a 4-star whiskey. I don't know. I don't drink, so I don't know if there is a 4-star whiskey. Is there? I mean, I don't know. I don't think there is.
I thought that was made up.
Yeah, I do too. But anyway, she says we got some money from the 4-star whiskey car. We got some money for from 7-Eleven. He says you got $30,000 to start with. But I had to have cars. I mean, I had to put cars in them movies. So I'd built a lot of cars. I had probably 4 cars of mine. Only 2 were really good race cars. But we fixed them all up, so I got money for all 4 of those cars. And then I leased back some cars from people that I built cars for and painted them up like the movie cars. And then they'd give me the money. So my money came from other people, not from Universal Studios. But then they hired me to keep track of do the maintenance work on the cars and that sort of stuff. And if you look in that movie, there's a scrawny guy in a green hat you see every once in a while. They didn't pay him to say nothing.
Oh, man. You didn't have any lines, but you'll forever in movie lore because that's one of the great stories.
All the pit equipment was mine. The Proto Tool people gave me 10 toolbox tops and 2 complete tops and bottoms, and those 2 top and bottom sets were completely full of tools.
Oh, how? That's cool.
And so the deal was that's what got exposed in the movie. So if you see anything in the movie that lids up on the toolboxes and there's a decal that says Proto Toolbox.
So what scene can we see you in?
Oh, the very first scene when he comes in, he stands up, he gets up on that stand, and there's people in front of him. When he walks up to be announced or something, I'm in a Union 76 driver's hat and a suit and it's a white hat with a green front or something.
Okay.
Yeah. But the and others, I'm in that bar scene. I found that really
The bar
hard.
fight?
I was in there, but I wasn't in the fight. They must have known about my.
They did. The guy's got a hammer hidden somewhere. Don't get him.
Yeah, don't muck with that guy. But that was a hard part for me because you had to act like you were talking to somebody without saying nothing.
Yeah.
It's just like I found that hard. But the best part for me was there was a scene where Johnny Hayes from U.S. Tobacco was supposed to blow an air hose up Loni Anderson's dress.
Yes.
She's up on pit wall
road, yeah.
trying to watch her husband be introduced in the infield. And I'm standing right there. Our knees are about that far apart. She's standing on it, and my knees, I got one leg up on the. And all that pit equipment was mine. And as part of screwing around there, I got to hook up with the guy that was doing the B crew or something. But if they're shooting over here, you're over here getting ready to shoot. So I'd be helping him do stuff. And we set up the pit equipment for that scene the night before, this one particular day, and they never got to it. So he come in the next morning. She gets up there, and Johnny Hayes goes to blow that air up her dress, and it was the humidity, the moisture was in that hose from being out on it. It just wet her from ankle to belly button. She just was.
Oh my God!
And they just and part of the scene is you're supposed to be able to see her underwear, so that screwed things up for a little bit. So she couldn't go back and just dry off and change underwear. She had to go back and get that underwear squared away and come back out. And they did. We'd been doing this for 3 or 4 weeks by now, and she's walking back up pit road there. I see a penny on the ground, so I pick that penny up. And she says, "Hey, Will, what are you doing?" I says, "I'm picking up this penny." She said, "Why'd you picking it up?" I said, "You find a penny with the heads up, that's good luck." She said, "Let me have that penny." She took that penny and stuck it down in this side of her brassiere. Changed pennies and stuck that penny down inside her brassiere. She said, "There's some good luck." I still have that penny.
Do you? I was going to ask that. Do you still have it?
Well, I gave it to my nephew, but I know right where it's at.
Yeah.
It's a 42D.
That's a story. Did you ever meet Burt?
Yeah. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We weren't friends or buddies or nothing, but yeah, we hung out. I fixed something on his tour bus, and his guy let us come inside. We were shooting pool. Before that movie started, Burt Reynolds gave me one of his jackets, the movie jacket, because they changed the name of the movie. And the name on the back of the jacket he gave me was the original name, so it wasn't anything he could
what
use.
was the name of it?
Stroke Race was the name of the movie, but the book was called Stand On It.
Yes, the book was named. I got a book.
Stand On It.
Yeah, I got the book in my bus. Stand On It.
And if you look at during that movie, the thing that impressed me or that enthused me was that he always wore elevator tennis shoes.
Give him an inch.
And if you act, he doesn't. I don't want to say that. I'm not an expert, but he was the same sitting here talking as he was acting. I mean, he just talked. He didn't get into character or something. I don't know.
He was Burt Reynolds all the time.
He was funny, and
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
If you watch those movies, at the end of them, they show takeouts or something. Funny stuff that happened.
Yeah.
And most of that stuff happened was after they'd shoot that film. That day, the film would go to California. It'd come back the next day, and after the filming, they'd go in there and look at what they shot the day before. And those people just cracked you up. You just belly hurt from laughing at He was just funny. He was just funny all the
How
time.
many months was it y'all worked on that movie?
I think maybe 6 or 7 weeks.
It
It
was quick.
It wasn't a.
It just seems like it would have been so much fun. A lot of work, I'm sure, but still.
It was in the movie. Here's some things about your dad. We first go down there, and then in that movie, the car that looks like the chicken pit car is actually 2 cars, and the car that the bad guy drives is actually 2 cars. His 2 cars for the bad guy were my 2 real race cars from '82 Beaks. Those other 2 were the 2 of only 5 prototype cars made for those '83 Thunderbirds. So they bring me these 2 cars, and the guy's call says, "You're getting 2 of these 2 new Thunderbirds," and the guys in the truck called on the way and said, "When we get there, we're going to be there about 10 o'clock at night. We need to have a fire out in your front yard with 4-foot flames on it." I don't know, and in hindsight, maybe they were going to cook hot dogs or something. They just wanted this flame outside the yard. Well, they come in these 2 cars, this big truck come down our driveway, and The cars are in gunny sacks, and they, unzip them and fold that stuff up, put it back in the truck. And he says, you put them cars in the shop. He says, run all your people home. And that's how you kept just kind of my shop guy and me. And they made us strip everything that would burn out of them 2 cars and put it in that fire. Just burn it up. They were prototypes. They didn't want somebody. They didn't want me selling it to somebody or taking advantage of it or something. So we burn all that up. So the next thing in the morning, here comes this guy from Ford Motor Company just eating my lunch. You ain't supposed to be having them cars. Nobody told me they were gone. They're missing. Don't you touch them cars. I said, I'm going to have to dig a couple barrels full out of the burn pile outside. I said, we burnt that stuff last night. And I heard that old phone slam down. He's mad. He is mad as he can be. He's a advertising guy, and some marketing guy gave us the cars or something. Not me. I said, you have to talk to Universal Studios. I didn't do nothing with him. He's madder than snot. And he said, well, this afternoon there's going to be a guy come down there. And you're going to have to pick him up at the air terminal and go over to the freight terminal and get a box. So we do that in that truck, in that old pickup truck. This guy comes down and raises the hood of them cars, gets up in there, loosens the coat, takes off his coat, loosens his tie, puts a shop coat on, crawls up in there, and he took off his electronic fuel injection and put carburetors on them. Did anybody want to see the injector systems, sequential fuel injection on those cars? So, and he gets all his stuff back up, put in that box, and we send him home. And calls the next day. This guy's still just mad as he can be. But we fix up these 2 cars because when they're filming, we did things 4 laps at a time. And one 4-lap segment, the camera would be on the bad guy's car.
Yeah.
And the next time, four laps, the camera would be on the good guy's car. And the third time, they'd film from the camera truck. They had a camera truck that go 150 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Big old truck. Them camera guys tied a belt to a rope on them handrails on the back of them trucks. I was always afraid somebody would run over them. If you're watching that movie and you're looking in the windshield at Burt Reynolds, that camera truck is towing that race car because the car won't go as fast as a camera truck.
Whoa.
They had old stock 4-cylinder motors in them. They didn't.
The cars did. The race cars, yeah.
Well, no, the Burt Reynolds, the
Burt Reynolds
Thunderbirds,
Fords, yeah.
Oh, I was going to ask, what prototypes were these?
There's 83 Thunderbirds.
The Thunderbirds?
Real street cars.
Yeah.
And you bodied out. You put
roll
quarters,
cages,
roll cages, quarter
Got it.
panels, and fenders,
And then
made it look like a race car.
made it look like a race car.
But they were ruined. I mean, you couldn't fix them back.
No.
Nothing. But
especially after you burnt them.
Yeah. So what happens is we get down there to Talladega, and this guy comes up looking for me. He says, where's that Will Cronkrite guy? I took off over to the trucks and made him find us for a little bit. So the stunt guy, about noon, the stunt guy spins one of the new prototype cars and chunks up the left front suspension. It's all new car. There's you can't go to a hardware store and or a car dealership and buy any parts. But he come up and his neck's all red and knotted up, and he said, "You better have that car fixed when we get back from lunch." And Hal and Needham and him, Hal and Burt was standing there, and Burt just shrugged his shoulders like that. And when that guy walked off, I looked over his shoulders, and he had driven the third one of those prototype cars to Talladega. So I figured out how I was going to fix my car. I went out in the parking lot and jacked his car up, took all the stuff out from underneath the left front of his car, and put it on my race car. So you know how happy he was when he came back.
Dude.
That was the third car that I'd screwed up for him.
Yeah.
But Burt said, you told him he could do it any way he had to.
Wow.
I don't know how he got that car home.
Yeah.
He couldn't drive it.
Wow.
Doing that film, when I was driving one of the cars that I'd made for somebody, and the stunt guys were having problems driving my 2 race cars. And your dad was down there with Bud Moore doing tests. I'm not quite sure how this was both going on, but, owners don't want drivers to drive somebody else's car. I understand that. But I went down to Bud and I said, these guys are complaining about my car. I said, could you let Dale drive it to see if I'm okay? I mean, you go through all this stuff. I've been doing it for 10 or 12 years. I kind of thought and it was Talladega. And he said, yeah. So your dad come out and he came in and he said, there's nothing wrong with this car. He said, what are they talking about? And I said, they're having a little trouble going into 3. And he says, them stunt guys, is one of them a tall one, the other one a short blonde, and he said, yeah. He said, well, wait just a little bit. And as them guys walked up on us, they got close to us, he leaned in front of me a little bit out of the car, and he says, there's nothing wrong with these cars. He says, if you got guys that can't drive these cars, I'll give you my mom's phone number. She can drive these cars. So them guys, and what I think, and I guess asking for your input here, what I think I remember him telling them was, you don't just jump out of the gas when you go in. He says, just maybe trail brake a little bit and feather out or something. But they got that fixed. But I thought it was your dad. Your dad's help. And then one of them guys said, that tall guy said, is it true you can see air? And, oh, no, it was in another conversation. They were there. And I said, I'm having trouble, Dale. Cars just jumping all over. I'm scaring myself, I guess. I'm maybe going.
You're driving it.
Yeah, I'm going 180 or something. When the cars are going 190, I ain't even going at 170 maybe. And the car's just jumping around. And I'm thinking, I'm just scared. So I come in, put more tape on the top of the wheel, adjusted my belts, and stuck my elbows in. Well, now did the same thing. I said, Dale, man, you got to help me. I said, my car's, this car is set up like those other cars. You know my background. What's wrong? He says, no, it just does that. He just says the cars just dart and just jump around. I mean, you're confirming that, right? And I know that's right. And he was telling me about the cars react different if you run up against guardrail than if you run against concrete, or if you come across the gate, it'll upset you. And that was when that guy says, is it true that you can see air? And your dad turns to me and he says, well, at Darlington, I guess it was then on the front stretch where that grandstand drops off a little bit and continues on down the track. I said, yeah. He says, well, I can tell you when a fat lady in the third row gets up and goes after popcorn.
Life is best lived in motion. And that's why Tire Pros gets you ready for all your driving adventures. Whether it's along corners and curves, across city and state lines. Because we're more than just tires. We're auto care too. Tire Pros, so you can focus on the road ahead.